the Northern Irish. It should not be forgotten.
My Lords, I am grateful to the noble Lord Lisvane for this opportunity to make a brief contribution to this debate on our union, though I have learnt a new meaning to the word brief while I have been in your Lordship's House. It doesn't always mean short. I'm sorry if I disappoint the hopes of the noble Lord Strathclyde in his setting comment about my valedictory speech. My time in your Lordship's House has been limited just over 2 years, partly because it's been right for my female colleagues to take precedence in joining your Lordship's House, and partly constrained by the pandemic. There's been a lot to learn, as well as to admire, in a place of such expertise and wisdom. But I regret I've not been able to become more involved in the serious business of your Lordship's House. My nearly 9 years as the Bishop of Blackburn are drawing to a close, and I shall be moving from the special Red Rose County of Lancashire, where it's been a joy to live and serve, and where we celebrate Her Majesty the Queen in our singing of the national anthem as the Duke of Lancaster. The North has been more than welcoming to a complete southerner, and as with all places where clergy serve, a bit of my heart will remain there. In our diocesan vision, which is for 2026, the 100th anniversary of the creation of the diocese, we've set to make the church community a healthy influence in every situation, not cutting back, but planting new gatherings in places where Christian witness and worship has been absent, most notably on urban estates. We've been blessed by generous grants from the National Church, and it has felt like a time of God's favour, as God has given us a great team, and we've sought unashamedly to make the person of Jesus Christ more widely known and believed. It has been an honour, when on duty here, to lead the reading of Scripture and the praying of the prayers at the beginning of each sitting here in your Lordship's House, something that signal something of our accountability and dependence on another, the one who is the source of all life and sets the boundaries of how we should relate to one another, those standards and values that we were discussing a little earlier this afternoon, that Christian heritage that underpins so much of our national life. I was intrigued to read in this report about the Union the strains currently experienced in governance, accountability and finance between the 4 nations of the Union, largely because of Brexit and devolution. I do wonder if a referendum is pressed for, whether so major a decision with consequences for the whole Union should be decided by only one part and not take into account the view of the whole. But I know that is controversial. It was especially good to see reference to the importance of the levelling up agenda, reducing the gaps in our society in terms of wealth and aspiration, something we in the North West are desperate to see taken forward. Government support for the Eden North project in Morecambe Bay is one example of what will bring massive transformation in terms of jobs and the growth of the local economy in Lancashire. But, my Lords, I found 2 things missing from this report. There was very little about the monarchy as one of the key strengths and bonds across the Union. The recent services of celebration of Her Majesty's Platinum Jubilee and the thousands of street parties which gathered whole communities together in very positive ways across all kinds of social and ethnic divides spoke volumes about something and someone who holds us together. We handed out in Blackburn Cathedral 900 copies of the booklet The Faithful Queen, telling the story of her humble service as a Christian to the Union and the Commonwealth. She is indeed a worthy recipient of the Archbishop's gift of the Canterbury Cross for unstinting service to the Church of England, but also to the Union. And secondly, and you would expect me to say this, I could not find any reference to the impact of the faith and charity sector might play in strengthening the life and cooperation across the United Kingdom. Obviously, in the past, the established church has played a key role in this nation, with Lord's spiritual present in this house. But over time, the churches in Wales, Scotland and Northern Ireland have become independent, and new churches also have emerged. What is more, the presence now of strong other faith communities in the United Kingdom challenges that Christian heritage as we make this country a place in which all faiths can practice without fear or favour. But in spite of all that change, I do not want us to lose a formal and a recognised place for faith in our national life. It provides a crucial underpinning of who we are in being fully human, body, mind and soul. As this House carries out its vital role of scrutiny of legislation and comments on the complex issues of the day, the prayer at the start of each sitting for wisdom and right judgment will continue to be my prayer for your Lordships House, though I no longer will have the privilege of being present. I'm grateful to you all for your good wishes.
My Lords, it is a real honour and a privilege to be able to follow the Right Reverend Prelate in a very short but moving speech. This is a bittersweet moment, I think, for us all, because he has only been with us, as he said, 2 years. It's less than 2 years since he made his maiden speech, which I read this morning again, and it was referred to by the noble Lord Alton when he followed the bishop as being thoughtful and exemplary as a maiden speech. And it clearly was. And we have heard an exemplary valedictory speech this afternoon from a man who is both genuinely humble but totally determined. He really does live his faith in his diocese and here, and he's led us in prayers every day this week. My Lords, he will be much missed because he, although with us for such a short time, he's made it plain that he's a campaigning bishop, passionate about Christians who are persecuted around the world and those of other faiths who are persecuted around the world. And we will much miss him and long remember him. And I wish him every possible happiness and success, and I know I speak for the whole House in saying that. He will now have more time for his gardening, his reading, his cycling, his DIY, and the other things he lists in his recreations in Who's Who and in Dodds. But Godspeed, and come back and see us often. My Lords, it's a privilege to speak in this debate, and I thank and congratulate